Welcome. Today's webinar is on leveraging the power of Totara Audiences. This is a really important subject for streamlining how you use your LMS and making it more efficient from the management perspective. And so if you aren't currently using audiences in Totara, hopefully this webinar will convince you to do so and will help save a lot of time and energy for you. My name is Dr. Tammy Frame, and I'm the Chief Education Officer at eClass for Learning. This is my contact information. After the webinar, anybody that signed up will be getting a link to the recording. Generally, it takes me about 48 hours to get that out, but you can be looking for that. Also, if you were unable to join us in the live webinar today, feel free to send me questions if you're viewing this later and you have questions or need help with something as well. Okay, eClass for Learning is a full solution open source e-learning provider, and we support a variety of open source LMS solutions. We help our clients with course development. We do a fantastic job of onboarding and support. We provide advanced reporting and analytics, and we'll see some of those reports today. We can help you with e-commerce. We can host the LMS solutions. We do systems integrations with our in-house programmers, and we can also customize the LMS for you as well. It's one of the reasons we like working with open source. Today, we're using Zoom for our webinar platform, so feel free to put in questions and answers as we go forward. I always think that makes the webinar more lively and fun, and if we don't know the answer, we can always research those and send them out with the webinar link following the webinar as well. So I really encourage you to do that. All right, with that, I'm going to leave the PowerPoint and I'm going to go to a demo site to talk about audiences. And so here's my demo site right here. And the first thing that I want to talk about with the audiences is important is what Totara calls our hierarchies. And that's really maybe the engine under Totara that helps map the organization so that it can be really customized to individual learner needs in your organization. So I'm demoing in Totara 12, and they've moved the admin up here to kind of streamline things, and I like this a lot. And you'll notice instead of hierarchies, you can go directly to organizations or positions. So an organization hierarchy might be something like your departments. So I have like a sample here, and maybe I have different kinds of people that might use the LMS in different groups and different departments, let's say. And so it could look something like that, okay? This is important because we can push out learning into those groups, and you can define these groups and have as many groups and subgroups as you want nested in there, and then that helps us to automate the pushing out of learning for different things that we want to do, or to make the LMS look different for different groups of people. So this gets very powerful, and I really encourage your organization to take some time to map out how your organization functions and put that in the LMS if you haven't done that yet. Very similarly, not only can you put what department and then link those to the individual people, but you can also put in positions. So let's just look again here. I have two positions, a doctor versus a psychiatrist, okay? And so we'll be talking about how we can push things out to those groups as well, okay? Great, so that hierarchies are very, very much linked to what we're going to be doing with audiences. So now I will jump into our audience part of the demonstration. So now under Totara 12, I can just jump to audience. By the way, in the new admin, you can also flip this around and customize this with the functions that you most often use. But audiences is right here, because hopefully after today's webinar, if you haven't been using them, you'll start using them a lot. And we can go to audiences. And so here I have some audiences set up. And you'll notice that there are two types of audiences under type. We can have a set audience where we go and cherry pick who we want in that audience. And you might have reason to do that. But the more powerful one, I think, is the dynamic audience. And that's where you set up rule sets where learners will, based on the rules that you set, will be automatically added or subtracted if needed based on the rules from that audience. So let's look at an example of that. And I'll go here. And from here, I have my basic rules. This is kind of our dashboards of things that we can do with an audience. But let's jump to rule sets. So this gets kind of important. So we're saying automatically update membership or add people when they meet the following rules and remove them when they no longer meet that rule. And usually these two are checked, but maybe you have a use case where you'd have one and not the other. Then of course, and or. So in mine, I have two rules and the user needs to fit both of them to be in my audience, okay? So I did an and. An or would mean sort of any. So in their city, in their profile, it had to say San Diego. And I also wanted, I did not want suspended users in this audience, so that if it says suspended, then that has to be no. And if they were suspended and yes, then they couldn't be in this audience. And that can be important so that we're not enrolling suspended users into different things and then we get them in reports and so on. So that's a little trick to make sure that you've only got your active users in there. Now when you're adding a rule under the rule tab, there are many things that you can set rules on, and I think it's a good idea for us to just take a minute and kind of look at those so that you as an instructional planner can be thinking about what types of rules might be useful for you. So first of all are things in the user's profile, and that's what I did with this one. I took their city. I also used user is suspended, and then it asked me yes or no, and I put no so that they would be active, okay? So you could do it by language type, you could do it by country, lots of things that might be in their profile could grab them automatically. Another very powerful tool is in Totara, and this is what I like about the tool, is it's so flexible. We can have custom fields that might be important to you. So I have a whole bunch of custom fields as well. Contract number, supplier number, middle initial, provider are some that I've done in some demos that were important for certain people. So if we wanted to, we could, let's say, do supplier number, and then we could choose what that's going to be, and it would grab anybody that's associated with that supplier number, for example. So you can set up your own custom fields. Those fields then show up in the audience as things you can choose to make rule sets. So it really is unlimited on ways that you can automate your audience. Then this gets into why setting up those hierarchies was important. You could do it by their job title, when they started or ended their job, their position, managers that they might have, if they have direct reports and you wanted to grab all of them. A whole department would be under organizations. And what happens when you pick this, then you get a pick list of everything that you set up in that hierarchy, and you can choose those as your rule set. Okay. Then there's another set. This all has to do with previous learning. So did they complete a certain program before? Then they would go in this new audience. Is there a certification completion date? Everybody that after this date completed, they could make an audience. Are they a member of a different type of audience and you want them filtered into here? When they first logged into the system, when they last logged into the system. So it's very powerful about how you can make these rules. You can have multiple rule sets or multiple rules. So here I just said and that's who's going to be in there. Okay. So then the next tab over shows me what members I have, and that I like to do to see if I auto-populated it right. And if for some reason I needed a list of these exported, I could do that as well. The next one is if I wanted this group to be maybe assigned some compliance training. And this would be where it would show up on their dashboard. They would get an email most likely saying that they've been enrolled. I can do that with one click. And so I can pick courses, programs, or certifications. And you'll notice I did. I gave them a certification, a program, and a course that they were required to do. The next one is really exciting. I use this one a lot. It's called visible learning. So this really has to do with the Find Learning Catalog, which has really improved a lot in Totara 12. And visible learning works in previous versions as well. I just like the way the catalog appears. This means that we can personalize and have an audience-based catalog. So if I put certain courses in here, that means that only the audience that has been designated will see it. So if I wanted to have a course for this audience or a program or a certification, so when they go to Find Learning, they see it, but other audiences don't, I can assign those here. Now, you could also do it at the course level as well. There is a part now in the Edit Course settings that says Visible Audiences, and you could select it there. Either place, it'll mirror each other. Okay, so you can set up very personalized catalogs based on job type or department or some other factor that you've set up the audience for. Okay, likewise, learning plan. Now, just maybe as a disclaimer here, learning plans are really meant to be individual, so it isn't like you're going to be able to pick 3 courses and make a learning plan and assign that to the whole audience. What they really mean is you can create in the learning plan area a workflow. So maybe your workflow template is something like the user can pick out courses, and then it goes to their manager to approve or not approve, and then if it's approved, they can take them. So that would be the learning plan template. You can then make that plan template available to the audience, but the content has still not been added. That gets done at an individual level for learning plans, and that's the intent of learning plans, that they're an individual learning path. Okay, so sometimes people think that here they could put in all the courses and then that would appear for everybody. what you want to do there is put it in enrolled learning if that's in your intent. This is really more about a workflow, that template that you want to assign to everybody. You can also set up goals for the whole audience that they would be working on, and that can show up in appraisals and learning plans and other places, okay? Also, you could quickly assign roles. This is another streamlined task. So if I wanted to make everybody a course creator in this audience in one sweep, I could do that, okay? So those are some of the features that are available to me when creating an audience. If I go back to my audiences, when you want to add a new audience, you just go here. And you could also upload some too as well. And what's important here is this is where you decide if it's going to be set, and that's where you cherry pick individual members, and it's very manual, or if it's going to be dynamic based on your rule set. Now, another thing to keep in mind is once you've made that choice, you don't get to go back in your audience and edit that. Many things can be, almost everything else can be edited, but that choice disappears once you've set it up and saved it. So if you decide later, oh, I want to make this dynamic, that's not going to work for you. And another thing that will be different, let's just go back to my audiences. So you want to make that decision carefully. Not that you can't quickly delete an audience and try it again. Let's just look at this set one here. Notice there's no rule set tab. So all of a sudden, if you wanted to make rules in a set audience, that isn't available to you, and I can't change it. So then what I might do is delete this one and make a new one, make it dynamic. Okay, so that's just important to keep in mind. Okay, so now that we have some audiences, we can do all kinds of things with it. We've already talked about the audience-based catalog, but we could also assign courses, which we talked about you could do through the audience. If we wanted to, we could also do it through the course. So I'll show you the second way you could do it. Let's say I'm going to be in this course. And then, oh, this one wasn't a good one because it was, let's just go to my dashboard quick, because that was a single activity course, so that's not going to be as easy. We'll go here real quickly, and maybe, and we can do it from the course level. All right. Here we go. Okay. So if I am in this course, we'll just go here, and I go to my course admin and edit settings. This is the second way you could do it. So you could do it directly through the audience, but enrolled audiences, so we could either enroll them here, and that means that it would show up on their dashboard as a course they need to do, and they might get a notification, or I can or make it audience-based visibility. So if I'm going to make it self-enrollment, here I can say enrolled users and members of this selected audience will see it. And then from here, I can pick my audience. So we'll just do my demo group there. Okay, so then it shows 131 people. They're not enrolled right now because I did visibility, but it'll show up on the course catalog for that audience only. Okay, so that's the second way that you can do it. Okay, you could also use the audiences as a way to enroll in programs. So programs are interesting. You might use a program if you have a series of learning, Possibly if you want to, maybe you have 3 courses and you want to package them together and you want them done in a certain order, that would be a good use case for a program. Another thing that programs have that audiences by themselves do not is that they have notifications attached to them. So sometimes we'll make a program of one course so that we can leverage the notifications around that course, okay? And courses can go into programs. So again, from the new site admin in 12, we can go directly to programs. And yeah, I'll leave there. Okay, so these are my categories, and I have one program in San Diego County, so I'll grab there. And then I will go here, and let's look at our demo program. And so I have 2 courses. I have like a learning path here, and it says any one course in this must be completed. So they could either do the online training or they could do the in-person training when they're given this, and then they can get credit for the program with whichever one they did. So I did the online, and I've been given 100% credit on this one. So that's the way I set it up. But if I go to edit program details, assignments is where we want to go. And I have assigned it to the San Diego demo group and that's a dynamic one. So anybody right now, there's 131 learners that have San Diego County in their profile. And so they were added to that audience. They are now enrolled in this program, which means that it will show up on their dashboard and get notifications. I also added an individual user, so I can do that. I could also add organizations, positions, which might already be part of an audience, okay? A nice part of programs, as I was saying before, is we get messages. So we didn't have messages in the audience, but if we had a course that we wanted certain messages to go around, we could put it in a program and assign an audience, okay? So the first one is a enrollment message, and this is sort of like a mail merge, and you can customize it and put in what you want. If you don't want that notification to go out, you could delete it. You could also make one for the manager if you wanted them to know that so-and-so has been enrolled in this program. There are other ones down here, quite a few, that can be set up, and you can delete this one too if you don't want it. So you can have when they're enrolled, the unenroll, a program due, it's overdue, it's completed, a course within the program is set due or overdue, or learner follow-up. And you can, let's say we just wanted learner follow-up, we can add it. And then we can write that, and when it should go, like 2 days after. So maybe you send out a survey or the link to the course survey, something like that, 3 days after. You could do that. And so again, today is about how audiences can really streamline and be powerful for you. And I think attaching an audience to this and then having notifications go out automatically can be a great way to save on your time. Okay, closely related to a program is a certification. Certifications work a lot like programs. The difference is certifications, like a good example might be a CPR certification. And let's say that once you complete that certification, it is good for 2 years, and then you have to recertify. That's another thing that Totara does so well. It can manage all of that for you. So very similar to programs, you can put courses in there. You could put a program in there as well. Okay, so I have a certification in this category again, and it's called a Learning Path Example course. And we'll go there, and then we just have one course for that one. But if I want to edit the details, again, under assignments, I have the ability to add my audience here. And so it enrolled 131 users for me. Again, certifications also have very similar messages. You can look at them all in here, so very similar. And then, and it'll let them know when their certification date is coming in. Now, one thing that programs don't have is this ability to kind of track time. So you can decide when the certification period starts. Will it be at the completion date of the certification? Will it be when it expires? Usually I have the completion date. And then how long is it active for? And then when you want to have people re-enroll and start working on it so there isn't a lapse in their certification, how much time do you want to give in their window? And then you can set up your messaging to help people alert them of those things too. So again, we can assign these things all through audiences. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is audience-based dashboards, which I think get very exciting. So let's go to my dashboard, and I'll first show you what it looks like. And then from there, what we'll do is I'll talk about the back end and how we made them. So this is a learner dashboard that I made for all users. And I actually set it in the Totara settings that when people log in, they will automatically be taken to the all learner dashboard. So everybody's going to get this one, and it has different things like their badges, their courses, some links that are important to the organization, some reports that I've embedded, some latest news, etc. But you might also see that there is two other dashboards that I have linked as well. And so what happens is people can have multiple dashboards, and I'm part of the site admin team, so we have access to the LMS administration, which looks like this, and it gives me some statistics about how the site is running. Okay, and I actually used another product that we work with called Zula to do some of these advanced reporting dashboards. And so if you're interested in how I created those, let me know and we can talk about that. And so I have more than one dashboard. This is my main one, but I can also see stats. I'm also an instructor of a course, and I used audiences to determine what I would have access to. So I have a link to an instructor dashboard, which I also made with Zula, and it shows me different things like who hasn't logged in lately, what are my class stats, how many are completed, a heat map of when people are logging into my courses and when heavy usage times are. And I can swap this out with any of the hundreds of templates in Zula or create my own with just drag and drop technology. So that's pretty cool. And if I go back here, let's talk about how I managed all of that, because behind all of this are audiences. So if I go to my Manage Dashboard area, first of all, I have several of them. And you'll notice that the My Learning is set to all logged in users. But then in LMS administration, I have two audiences. And here I have one audience. And if we go, we can look at this real quickly. And so I put available only to the following audience, and then audiences, and I picked two of them that should have access to that. And then what will happen is on the My Learning, just like I showed before, those any dashboards that you're given in addition to My Learning are linked right here based on if you have permissions for those. So I think that you can have a lot of actionable data or specific information. You might have a manager dashboard or for different departments for different information. And the dashboards are configurable and you can add anything that you want to them. Okay. Any questions that you want to ask? That kind of gives you an overview of what is possible with audiences. And I think if you haven't been using them or this is a new concept, I really, really would encourage you to try them because they can save so much time and really make your LMS a lot more powerful. Okay. Well, my chat is not blowing up with questions right now. So if anybody wants to think of some, that's fine. I just want to point out that our next webinar, if you go to our website, is next Thursday, and it's on time-based reporting. So if you are really interested in some of the reports that I was showing, we're going to be showing more Zula reports specifically around time-based reporting. And if you want to do things like track time or correlate time spent in a course versus grades earned, or what days and usage are heaviest, or time spent earning a certificate. The Zula reporting has a lot of algorithms that you can choose from and data sources that make time-based reporting possible, and we'll be talking about that. And that's next Thursday at the same time. You can register from our website. And so I don't see any questions right now, but thank you so much for joining us. I hope we see you on a future webinar soon. Have a great day.